Welcome back to Rocket City, one last time. So many of you are probably thinking, why are you ending this so early? We just won our first championship. Well, if you've seen my video in the past on why I stopped Death Valley State early, it's gonna be many of the same reasons here.
I mean, you record the same game like 200 plus times. There's only so many things we can say about it.
And I'm actually stopping this aggressively early because I don't want it to get to that Death Valley like vibe, or like UGF, it went a little too long, even though we have fond memories of UGF. So I think this is a sweet spot for Rocket City. Like, we had a good run here. It was a lot of cool stories here, a lot of great players. Like, I'm just gonna remember this team, is what I think. It's based off of my hometown, Huntsville, Alabama. We all know that story. But I don't want to just leave you guys abruptly. I still want to go into the future and see where everybody ends up. Who gets drafted? What kind of NFL careers do they have? That kind of thing. And after we get through all that, by the end of the video, I'll tell you what my plans are for the future of this channel and NCAA and all that good stuff. Today's NIL sponsor is Squarespace. Squarespace has been a sponsor for the entire series, all the way dating back to the UGF days, so they've been a long-term supporter of this channel. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful website and run your business. This month, I decided to make a website to honor the legends of Rocket City. So I made a Hall of Fame website. It was simple to create with Squarespace because they have easy-to-use templates. It was a breeze for me to upload my own photos, and with Squarespace, I can also add threaded comments, replies, and likes. So the fans can also interact and choose which player was their favorite from the entire series. And with Squarespace, I can check analytics to see how many people visit the site, and I can figure out which channels are the most effective. Take advantage of my special offer right now and use my custom link in the description below at squarespace.com/nottheexpert. We're going to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Once again, go to squarespace.com/nottheexpert and you're going to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. But let's pick up right where we left off. So we won the national championship. We beat Alabama. We were at the top of college football, and we had a lot of legends that were on the cusp of being drafted. Funny enough, Tim Missile, so he gets beat out for the Heisman Trophy, right? We were pumping him with as many stats as we could. I know it kind of got annoying there a little bit. Became the Tim Missile career mode for a while. Sorry about that. It's very difficult to win with the defensive player in NCAA 14. Did the best I could, and we still came up short to Drake May. And then in the NFL draft, he gets leapfrogged by Drake May again. This man beat him for the Heisman Trophy in the first overall pick in the NFL draft. So Tim Missile goes number 2 to the Panthers. But I'm telling you, the Panthers got a steal. Tim Missile becomes an absolute legend. We'll run down the NFL careers of people later. But other people in this draft class, Beef Wellington went number 5 overall in the NFL draft. He was a legend in college, of course, but he's a defensive tackle at number 5. That's crazy. Brandon Ford was actually a first-round draft pick. We knew he was a high-quality player in college, but I did not expect the ceiling of a first-round running back for him. He went number 27 to the Packers. Ryan Brown got drafted in the 3rd round to the Colts. But moving on, we got Darrell Owen, our first recruit in school history. He got himself drafted 4th round to the Jets, and he became their immediate starting right tackle. What a development for his story. He wasn't anything special in the NFL, but the fact that our first recruit made it that far is very special to me. Mr. Cam Miller, the speed machine. He kind of fell off in college, so the NFL scouts did not get a great look at him. He got drafted in the 5th round to the Cowboys, and he was like a solid practice squad player for them. Probably emulating like Christian McCaffrey or something, just those crazy juke and spin moves. Good player, very underrated player. Doug Mayfield got drafted in the 6th round. I thought he would have been way better in college, but he kind of was a little bit of a disappointment. He became a bench warmer in the NFL. Not much happening there. So how does the team rebuild after losing all those legends? Well, it's kind of the next man up mentality then. Some guys actually ended up transferring. One's probably not going to surprise you. Wayne Fontenot, he decided to transfer. He went to Clemson, and we're going to follow his story closely here soon. That was very interesting for me to see. The 5-star freshman wide receiver Jacob Smith also transferred to Marshall, but that's kind of where his story ends. He didn't really do anything of note at Marshall. Moving on to the next year, Wayne, I'm telling you, this story is very cool. Man transfers to Clemson, immediately grows a beard, so he grows up. He's a hardened, battled veteran now. He upgraded all the way to 97 overall, by the way. This man put in work. He was furious he got overlooked by Rocket City. Or not necessarily furious. I'm sure he loved his time in Huntsville. He just wanted an opportunity to play for the NFL. So Wayne was balling this year. Heisman Trophy. Straight up, the Heisman Trophy. 42 passing touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, 3,700 passing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns as well. Sounds like Clemson was the perfect move for him. He led the Tigers to an 11-1 regular season record. He won the ACC championship over Notre Dame, and he got Clemson a playoff berth at number 1 overall. But you're probably asking, what does that mean for Rocket City? Well, we had an 11-1 regular season. It was all simulated, by the way. We lost to Alabama in the regular season, and then we lost in the SEC championship game to Texas. So we just snuck into the college football playoff at number 8. Greg Williams had a pretty good year, but nowhere near on on Wayne's level. He had 3,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 12 picks. A big surprise on this team was definitely Dominic Easley. This man got 1,000 receiving yards, and his development over these simulations was crazy. We'll pick up on that later. So you're probably thinking in your mind, number 1 was Clemson, number 8 was Rocket City. We're doing an 8-team playoff. You are correct. We played Clemson in the first round, and I had to jump in for a few plays for this. It's a crazy coincidence that this happened. I did not manipulate anything. This is just how it turned out, but I had to get some extra gameplay. I didn't play the whole game, just stepped in for a few drives. It was a freaking battle between Wayne and Greg. Wayne ended up outdueling him though, and then Rocket City would lose to Clemson in that first round. So Rocket City is out. No back-to-back championships for the Moon Men. But Wayne's story's not over. Wayne and Clemson moved on to the semifinals, but they ended up losing to Oklahoma. The Natty was Oklahoma versus Texas, so back-to-back rivalry games in the Natty. Last year, it was Rocket City versus Alabama, and this year, Oklahoma versus Texas. And Texas ended up winning it all, so Texas is back. Virtually, of course. And I know Greg is a little disappointed, letting his team down, even though he had a great game, but he was still a young player. I think he was, what, a sophomore at the time? So he still had a long way to develop. We only had one draft pick this year. It was Montrell Gordon, the man who got us that national championship with getting 2 picks in that last game. He declared early, no surprise, he's a legend. He went number 9 to the Saints. But Mr. Wayne Fontenot, he performed so well in his last year in college football. He was drafted number 1 overall by the New York Jets. Crazy story for Wayne. We'll follow his NFL career later. But continuing with Rocket City, no back-to-back college football playoff championships for Rocket City. You lose in the first round. What do you do this year? Well, you put some work in the offseason, that's for sure. Hear this, all right? Greg Williams, 99 overall, maxed out, 97 throw power, 96 throw accuracy. Man's got a cannon, and he's got his eyes on the NFL after this year. But I'm sure he wants to get a championship in his last year in college. And we're not done yet either. Jordan Vaughn, 96 overall. Oh, I wish I could continue this series just to see Jordan Vaughn at this kind of talent level. 99 speed, 99 acceleration, the fastest man in college football, bar none. Tyreek Parrish, I mean, we switched him from quarterback to receiver. This man became a 94 overall receiver, 99 catching with 98 route running. I love it. Dominic Easley, he was the one I was telling you surprised me because we didn't see him much in our actual gameplay in this series, but he was young and talented, and he definitely developed. He became a god, 99 for most catching attributes. The combination of these high-end talent players on our team, it made it so Rocket City became a 10-2 regular season team, and they ended up getting a number 3 college football playoff berth. And Greg Williams, he did not win the Heisman. He was a finalist though. 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns to only 4 picks. So that's not even to Wayne's level in terms of statistics, but still a damn good year for Greg Williams. Tyreek Parrish won himself the Blinknikov, 64 catches, 1,073 yards, 11 touchdowns. So we ended up losing in the college football semifinal to Oklahoma, who went to back-to-back championships, and they would end up winning it all. A little unfortunate for the Moon Men. But for the statistics side of things, Greg Williams, he broke Jeff Eaton's career passing yards record. Kind of sad to see that because we all did love Jeff Eaton, but we're never going to forget his freaking crazy game of like 700 yards and a bajillion touchdowns. Not surprisingly, we had 5 first-round players drafted this year, and we're starting it off with Greg Williams, who went number 3 overall. Shocking he was not number 1, but he went to the Patriots. Interesting to see that in the future. We'll follow his career closely. Keeping going down the list, number 8 to the Chargers, Dominic Easley. Crazy development for him. And right behind him, another Rocket City wide receiver, Tyreek Parrish. Cool to see back-to-back Moon Men drafted. Then at number 12, we got Travarius Ward, the corner. He went number 12 to the Colts. Right back behind him, defensive end Joe White, who we didn't get to see too much in our gameplay, but he was still a higher overall at 91. Our guy, the running back, Jordan Vaughn, went number 18 to the Steelers. Love me some Jordan Vaughn, but that is it. That is most of the high-key players that we remember from our series. So we're now moving on to their NFL careers. See what they did after the fact. And we got to start it off with our main man, Samuel Owusu, of course. We did a little mini-series with him, just like a few episodes. And obviously, Samuel Owusu became a legendary player. He was the lifeblood of the Moon Men. We loved him. He was a hard worker. If you want to see that full story, I made a little video about it. It's a very short series, and it kind of ended because Madden's just not a good game, but that's a different story for a different time. Next up, we got Wayne Fontenot. So Wayne had kind of an up-and-down career here, actually mostly down in the NFL. So it was up at the end of his college career, I'll say that. Terrific Heisman Trophy trophy-winning season, but in the NFL, he led the Jets to the worst record in the NFL, and he struggled for many years. Lost his starting job, became like a fringe starter around the league, kind of like that replacement level guy. Like, how could I compare it to somebody? He's like Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo level, where it's like you don't know if they're like really a guy you should have in your team. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe that's not an accurate analogy, but you know what I mean. I'm still happy Wayne had his moment in college. Greg Williams, obviously he got drafted by the Patriots. We just said that a minute ago, and he had a cannon for an arm. He was very accurate. I was shocked to see him go number 3, but it is what it is. But he had a good career. He never won a Super Bowl or anything in his career, but he was putting up numbers almost all the time. He ended up getting 1 MVP in his career, which is good because he never got a Heisman Trophy. So I'm glad he got at least some accolades. Mr. Brandon Ford. So Brandon Ford was like a perennial Pro Bowler. Very good running back, and we saw that talent in college. When the offense runs through him, good things will happen, and that's what they did in the NFL with Brandon Ford. Dual threat running back too. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Awesome player. I'll never forget Brandon Ford. Montreal Gordon. So Montreal Gordon was just like locking people up all over the place in the NFL. You can see right here he was taking on Jamar Chase. Just an awesome player. Very good career. Really was one of the best corners in the NFL for a while. Jordan Vaughn was known as, without a doubt, the fastest player in the NFL. Like, I think his longest play of his career was like 97 yards or something, and he just rips it. Incredible player. I mean, you can't catch up with that kind of speed. I really wish I could have seen his entire career play out because he's such a fun player. Very OP, though, in video games. Maybe that's good for his career, though. He put up numbers. And the final 2 Moon Men I'll talk about, Beef Wellington and Tim Missile. They both were incredible players. They were known as the best at their position in the NFL for many, many years. Tim Missile was right from the rip. Beef Wellington got there over a couple of seasons. But eventually, a few years into their career, they battled each other in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game, both getting a ton of sacks. But Tim Missile ended up winning it. He had the better team around him, and of course, Tim Missile is OP. We already know that. And then Mr. Tim Missile, he ended up winning the Super Bowl. He was the first one to win a Super Bowl. We had a few more players win the Super Bowl throughout their career. None of them were like the star player on their team when they did it. So Mr. Tim Missile got himself a ring. All of these players have themselves a college ring, though. And that was truly special about this series. Built this team from the ground up to a championship program. They did not win it in the simulations after the fact, but they were always competing for it. So what does it mean for the channel now? What does it mean? Am I going to be uploading NCAA anymore? Yes, I am. However, it's going to be a little bit different, all right? So I'm not going to be doing a long series like this. I'll probably do a couple of one-offs. Like, I'll give you a random example, all right? Can I win a championship with a bunch of 1-star recruits only? And I'll do that however long it takes. I'll just record it all. We'll probably do some post-commentary, which is different than what I do with this series, which is all live. And then we'll condense that down into a watchable video. But I'm not going to be doing these like 80-episode series, at least not until the new NCAA comes out. And then I might come back to this type of video, but I've done this 3 times now. We already know the formula for this series, and there's a lot of content there. I mean, I put my heart and soul into these videos for many years, and I think it's time for me to get back to doing more random things. I have a lot of fun doing those, and to be honest, my channel starts to perform way better when I do those type of videos anyway, so it's kind of a win-win for me. Unfortunately, for the people that love these type of series, I will have to move on. But think of me like an author or a director or something that you'll watch. Like, I can't just make the same thing over and over and over. Gotta mix things up, you know, gotta try new ideas. Like, sure, I like Christopher Nolan's like Dark Knight series, but I don't want him to just make Batman movies forever. Like, I think I'm starting to ramble, but you get the idea. I want to get back to being goofy, playing some random meme games. If you like that kind of stuff, stick around. If that's not your thing, that's all right. But I'm still going to be uploading some NCAA, maybe some Madden if they ever fix that freaking game. But a lot of random games. Football, basketball, maybe some soccer, heck, hockey if there's enough of an audience for it. We'll be messing around, and I hope you're here to stick around with me. But as far as these long-running series for NCAA football, I think that's it for me for the time being, and maybe I'll come back to it in the new game, of course. But anyways, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. You're all legends in my book, and as for me, I am Drew Morris, Big Ol' Drewski, not the expert. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.
Thank you to Patreon supporters Jeff Coleman, Christian Tagg, Jack Webb, Alex Molnar, Anthony Uhas, Timbo Slice, Casey Knox, Demondre Hunter Martin, and Rosalie Jarecki.